Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Morning Brew here live on Brew Sports. It is a Monday edition of the program. There is a lot to get to today, not only in the sports world, but my goodness, if the sports world hasn't gone mad, the rest of the world certainly has, that's for sure. We've got a lot of good stuff to get to, of course, but before we do that, if you didn't hear over the weekend, of course, you probably were with us last week as well, too. We had a new face join the Brew Sports family. She's gone through the process. She's vetted everything that she has to do. We're waiting for her Social Security card number to come through. But aside from that, we're pretty good to go. We are excited to announce that McKenzie Laurent is the new co-host on Morning Brew. So congratulations and welcome back, McKenzie. How are you?
I'm so excited to be here. I'm living the dream.
Round of applause. Very exciting times, to say the least. Well, we are thrilled to have you a part of the Brew Sports family, and excited to have you here on Morning Brew as well.
I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're excited. As long as you can keep me in line, that's job description number one, is like, can you keep Baxter in line? So
yeah,
we'll
I can
see.
do that.
I feel like you of all people could do that. So I'm excited to see what we've got going on for that. So we've got a good one in store for you today, of course. NHL correspondent Max Walpoff is going to be here in a little bit to help us recap the craziness of the Ottawa Senators Pittsburgh Penguins game the other night, and how Nashville is just a game away from heading to the Stanley Cup playoffs. He will be with us in our second segment, so make sure you swing back for that, for you hockey lovers that are out there. We've got a couple of great questions of the day today. Some controversy, some craziness, all kinds of bitterness going on, depending on who you are, I suppose. But our two questions of the day that we'd love to hear from you guys about, and your opinions, yes, no, maybe so, depending on what you go for. Very straightforward. Do you support the Notre Dame students that walked out on Vice President Mike Pence as he was giving the commencement address at Notre Dame over the weekend? If you haven't heard, a bunch of students got up and walked out in protest to him, but probably more so the Trump administration as well, too. Mm-hmm. So let us know if you support them. It doesn't necessarily mean that you support their political views. We're not trying to get into that discussion. We're just curious to know how you view something like this with a bunch of students walking out. And also, which we're going to dive into a little bit later after a great article McKenzie found, what age should kids transition from rec to travel teams? So in the sports world, or just in general, from the rec science club to the traveling science club, or any of that stuff. So this seems to be that it gets younger and younger.
Yes.
So we'll dive into that a little bit more here in just a minute. Of course, we do remind you we are broadcasting live here on Facebook. Say good morning to us if you're watching us there. We're also on YouTube and on Spreaker.com as well. Shows can be available on iTunes as well if you're more of a podcaster as well. Go to our website, brewsportsnet.com, to find all the latest and greatest info on the hosts, on the programs, on everything. It's all there for you. All right, time to get into it this morning. We have the What's Brewing segment, where we talk about things brewing in the sports world, of course. We teased it a little bit in the first segment, but the hockey craziness that took place last night, McKenzie, what in the wide world is going on?
I think one team forgot to show up.
Or they were playing the wrong sport, 7-0.
Yeah.
How does this happen?
Pittsburgh beat Ottawa 7-0. 7 different players scored.
That sounds like a rec score to me. Losing 7-0. Right. I've lost games 7-0 before, in rec sports.
I'm just confused as to if that shows the depth of this team or if that shows how bad Ottawa really played.
I think it's probably a mixture of both. I mean, You don't necessarily know, and I'm sure Max will be able to give us more insight about that when we talk to him shortly. But I know I saw this score last night, and I could not believe it. I was like, 7-0. I honestly, I don't usually exclaim wow or holy cow when I'm just reading scores, but I literally was just reading last night doing research, and I was like, holy cow. I was like, what happened last night?
It's embarrassing.
It is. It really is. So this doesn't necessarily put the Senators to bed, but it certainly puts them in a hole, of course. Yes. So you have to be careful with that one if you are Ottawa moving forward. But if you're Pittsburgh, you'd like to think, hey,
you're close.
Very close. Game away. Nashville is also a game away too.
Yep.
So it's interesting. Another team that was a game away as well, too, was the Cleveland Cavaliers. They still technically are. They were trying to finish their third consecutive sweep. Boston said, no, we will not go for it. They've come back from 21 points down.
Yeah.
They hit a 3 at the buzzer to win. So now they have to go one more game, which is really annoying because I just want to be done with it and just move on so that way Golden State and Cleveland can just play in the finals and we can just forget about it. But no. They never say die, apparently, if you are the Boston Celtics. But I don't put any stock in Boston doing anything else moving forward. Do you?
No, not at all.
I would be shocked if they win a second game, honestly. I'm surprised they won last night.
I was shocked.
Yeah, and that was kind of what a lot of the experts had said, too. They're like, listen, if Boston wins, they're going to win one game. Maybe two if they're really lucky. They won their one game. Now they can say they're the first team not to get swept in the playoffs by Cleveland. They've done their due diligence. On your way now.
See ya.
No one cares. Seriously, though. It's very surprising and very strange to me, honestly. One of the last things that I want to talk about, too, before we go, you obviously have a little bit more knowledge about this, is Raingate, apparently. If you haven't heard about this, baseball fans, Chicago Cubs called a supposedly false or fake rain delay or just canceled the game altogether against the Milwaukee Brewers over the weekend because the forecast said it was going to rain. Although when it actually came time for the game, there was no rain and there was actually a little bit of sun.
Yes.
And they still canceled the game. People are a little suspicious about this. They're saying they're calling it Raingate.
A little angry.
Because everybody has gate on the end of anything nowadays. Like we had McKenzie gate last week. People are like, who's McKenzie? Like, what is she doing? Like it was McKenzie gate. It was trending. It was a nightmare.
Right. All over Twitter.
PR nightmare for us at Brew Sports, honestly. But How do you look at this? I mean, you cover the Brewers, obviously, but in general, though, I've never heard of a team like lying or being like so anti, like, oh, a drop of rain, shut it down, like we're done.
I feel like it's suspicious in the fact that they called the game before the game even happened.
Right.
That normally doesn't happen. Normally, I mean, if it starts raining or it's a thunderstorm and you don't have a covered stadium, then maybe you have to delay the game for a bit. And they did do that at Wrigley last year towards the end of their season. So I'm not sure why they did that.
It seemed rather suspicious to me, in all honesty. When I heard about this, Brewers general manager David Stearns and then also Craig Counsell, the manager, were both rather upset about it. And Counsell came out and said, it's the first time for us that we've had players treated for sunburn after a rainout because of the fact that there was sun out there. So you could see the frustration in that regard. So fans were not happy about it.
Oh, and so I did find the player's name. His name is Tyler Cravey.
Oh,
I could be pronouncing his last name wrong. So he was called up by the Brewers for the game.
Okay.
And then since the game was not
Rained
happening, whatever the issue was.
Are they going to have to make this up? Do we know if they have to make the game up at all?
I don't know.
I'm going to be curious about that.
Yeah. But since they didn't have the game, once they ended up having the game later, or the day later, Ryan Braun was back in the lineup, and then they sent Tyler back
Thank
home.
you for coming,
so he
but
never got
adios.
to play.
Oh, my gosh. Unbelievable.
Yes.
Oh, well. All right, well, we do say good morning to all of you wonderful people that are out there, of course. Kurt, Gabby, Patrick, all the others, Jeff, Dara, many others as well. To you, Patrick says, good morning, Baxter and McKenzie. I'm up early, so you got to deal with me today. Perfect. We look forward to having to deal with you, Patrick. If you are just tuning in, please answer our 2 questions of the day. Do you support the Notre Dame students walking out on Vice President Pence? And also, what age should kids transition from rec to travel teams, not only in sports, but for other clubs and other exciting things that take place in the world? So we're going to dive into both of those a little bit more when we get to it. And as we mentioned as well, too, we're not trying to get super political with that first question. We're just genuinely curious about your thoughts, if you support them walking out or not, or if there should be repercussions or any of that fun business. So we will get to all of that a wee bit more once we get done with Max Walpoff. But speaking of Max Walpoff, he is a man among boys, the myth, the legend, one of the best-dressed correspondents that we can find here on the Brew Sports Network, and he joins us this morning, as he usually does, to help us talk about the hockey world. Good morning to you, Max. How are you today, sir? Oh, I don't hear Max for some odd reason. Very strange. I don't know why I don't hear Max, but we'll figure that out. We'll work on it. Oh, Max thinks he's got it figured out. Oh.
That was me not unmuting my microphone. My fault. My fault.
We have figured it out.
Man.
Come on, Max. You had one job. One job.
You're darn right. I did.
Get it together, man.
I give you a nice intro, and you mute yourself. Unbelievable.
My bad. Let's start on the hockey, because that's clearly what I'm best at.
Perfect. Well, yes, let's talk about it. As McKenzie alluded to earlier in the first segment, 7 different players scoring last night in what was just an absolute, just chaotic fest of goals with the Penguins taking down the Senators. I've never seen a game this one-sided, at least in the time I've been following hockey. How surprised were you by this result?
I wasn't all that surprised. Pittsburgh is much more the offensively gifted team, and ever since they put Matt Murray in the back of the net, it seems like the Penguins have gotten their game back together. But after that Scott Wilson goal to end the first period, Ottawa kind of just packed it in and was ready to move on to the next game in Game 6 and back in Ottawa. And I'm going to go out on a huge limb here. The Ottawa Senators are winning Game 6.
Oh, interesting.
Really?
I don't doubt it for a second. In every single blowout of the NHL playoffs, the Oilers and Sharks, the Capitals and Penguins, then the Penguins and Capitals, it's always come back to the team that gets blown out either wins the next game or makes it competitive enough to force overtime. It's one of the two, and I think the Ottawa Senators, in front of their home crowd, with Craig Anderson getting a rebound game, they are going to win Game 6.
How does this work from a goalkeeper's mentality perspective, honestly? I've never played this sport, but if you have 7 goals scored against you, I feel like there's got to be a little bit of self-doubt, wouldn't you say?
Yes, there could be that, but Craig Anderson is a mentally strong goaltender. That's one of the reasons he's nominated for the Bill Masterton Trophy this year, for his dedication to hockey in the midst of his wife having cancer and him having to leave the team at various intervals to be with her. Craig Anderson is a strong goaltender in his head, and he will be having a rebound game tonight. I definitely foresee maybe a little bit of struggle if the Penguins get an early lead. But if the Ottawa Senators can hold on and play that 1-3-1 that they're so infamous for, have their way with Pittsburgh.
When you look at the other series, too, you switch over to Nashville. They got a victory over the weekend to push their series 3-2. It's kind of looking, at least as of right now, I know we still have a couple of games to play, it's looking like it's going to be Nashville and Pittsburgh in the finals. Have you seen enough from Nashville to believe they have what it takes to win the Stanley Cup this season after their last 5 games in this series?
I've seen that Nashville was a Stanley Cup contender when they finally got into the playoffs, but these Anaheim Ducks are injury ravaged, and their best forwards are a bunch of old guys who just know the rules come playoff time. And that's Ryan Getzlaf, and that is Corey Perry. They know the rules change once you come into the playoffs, but they're also going to be without Rickard Rakell, who's been one of their top scorers. They're going to be without Patrick Eaves, who they got at the trade deadline. And John Gibson, their goaltender for most of these playoffs, is doubtful. And Jonathan Bernier is no slouch in the back of the net, but at the same time, he isn't what John Gibson has been for these Ducks.
Max, I brought it up in the beginning of our show today, but I was just curious your opinion. Do you think the fact that there was 7 goals by 7 different players shows the depth of this team, or it just shows that Ottawa just had a bad game and time to move on to Game 6?
Well, it's a bit of both, really. The Ottawa Senators have been relying on a lot of their players they've been relying on a resurgent Bobby Ryan. They've been relying on a young Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and they've really been relying on the one-footed Erik Karlsson to make a lot of big plays. But the Penguins, they have an Olympian on every forward line, and Olli Mata seems to have turned. They do. They have Sidney Crosby. They have Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Phil Kessel. 3 different countries, 3 different Olympians. And they still managed to play very well. Olli Mata's had a resurgent last couple of games. And with Matt Murray coming back in the net, things have seemed to turn around in Pittsburgh. So it's a little bit of both, to answer your question.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me, honestly. I mean, that's what you have to hear sometimes is why certain teams fizzle out in other sports. It's like, oh, they just didn't have the depth to really be there. But I think that speaks not only to the experience that the Penguins have and other teams have as well, too, but in general, the organization from a planning perspective, too. Yeah. You can never plan for injuries exactly, or just in general when some people might get hot or whatever, too. So having the proper depth, I think, certainly speaks volumes to these 2 squads, or these 4 squads, rather, moving forward. We haven't heard a lot about Anaheim. I know you mentioned Ryan Getzlaf, of course, and of some of the other players in that team. Does Anaheim have what it takes to push this to Game 7, in your opinion, or is it pretty much done if you're Nashville? You just got to get through one more game and call it a day.
I think Anaheim has the pieces to put together a win, but I look at the way that they've scored their goals in this series, and half of them have come off of rebounds and bad deflections, and the other half have come off of pretty shots. The Anaheim Ducks are a strange team, but we've seen a little bit of what their future holds in that they are aging and that they have to load up and go for it now. This is the year Anaheim has to at least try to make the finals. But while they do have the pieces to do it, I think the Predators are a much stronger team, and they're also a much more cohesive team. And we're seeing it now with Nashville fans greeting them in the airport to welcome them back to their city. Nashville has bought into the Predators, and if the Predators don't reward them with a run at the Stanley Cup, I'm starting to see maybe they experience a bit of a downfall next year.
Last question, at least for me, before we let you run. Stepping outside of the playoffs as a whole, you and I had talked about this about a month or so back, about how the Golden Knights, of course, are just going to continuously be such a fun thing come the offseason. I know that they're still trying to get their pieces together, and we haven't seen the players protected or unprotected at this point. But have there been players that you've seen in the playoffs that you think may find themselves moving to, might be getting selected by by the Golden Knights come that time?
I think all bets are kind of off until the protected lists come out, because there are going to be players who will play themselves on to the protected lists and players who are playing themselves off the protected lists. But at the same time, George McPhee, the general manager for the Golden Knights, he's no dummy. He spent almost 17 years trying to build the Capitals into a Stanley Cup contender, and he largely did that. But he also made a couple of boneheaded trades. The Philip Forsberg for Martin Erat and Michael Latta trade is the frequent punching bag among Capitals fans. But I see the Vegas Golden Knights holding out all of their decisions until those protected lists are ready. They definitely have their guys, and McPhee's already said he's looking for former Capitals. But at this point, McPhee holds all the cards. We don't really know what he's going for.
Well, we are definitely excited to see what that comes to. It's something we haven't seen in a long time. And we know that, of course, you will be geeking out, but also helping us provide the best coverage when it comes to that kind of time, too. So, Max, we appreciate it, sir. If people want to find you on social media, where can they get at you?
They can get me at MAX_WOLPOFF on Twitter. I will be starting work today for a collegiate league baseball team as their broadcaster.
Hey.
So if you want a bunch of tweets about guys in college who are playing an extra 2 months of baseball, I am your guy.
That's phenomenal. So much awesomeness. Thanks so much, Max. We'll talk to you soon, sir.
Thank you very much.
See, he even embraces the underscore.
I was going to say it. Underscore.
Embraces the underscore. I am just at Baxter Colburn. I try to keep it nice and simple. You've got to throw the underscore in yours.
Heck yeah.
That's nothing. What are you, MCK?
MCK underscore Laurent.
Mm-hmm.
It looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, that. I guess so. If you're into that sort of thing, I don't know. Some people put too much effort and time into their Twitter handles, I guess. I'm like, listen, I have the only person in the world that has Baxter Colburn as their name. I've looked it up. I'm like, well, I'm going to just keep it simple for people. I used to be Baxstar20. That was me for a while. I know.
Wait, is that your Snapchat name?
It used to be. It might still be, actually. I don't know if you can change your Snapchat names, but that's what it was on Instagram and all that stuff, too. People always thought I was super conceited, like, really, Baxstar. I'm like, it was a nickname that I was given from a fellow teammate when I played soccer, okay? He used to call me Baxstar. I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. And I didn't think about it like
soaked it up.
I didn't think about it as a conceited way when I was a kid. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I started using it for different screen names because I'm like, well, okay, I won't use Baxter because you don't want to, like, completely use your real name. Mm-hmm. And then people are like, really, Baxstar? I'm like, talk to Josh. He's the one that gave it to me. I don't know. What do you guys want from me? I don't know. I never lived it down, though, for a while. And even for a while, people would, like, greet me, be like, oh, Baxstar. I'm like, really? Like, come on.
Yeah, that sucks.
Leave it alone. Oh, my goodness. Let's look at the comments here fast because people have been giving us their 2 cents, not only about our questions of the day, but in general, just checking in. According to Patrick, they will make up the rain game, it looks like. So that is good. That's good to hear.
Not till July, though.
I know. Seems a bit surprising, but I guess when the schedule is so, like, packed in, I guess there's only so much that you can do on a short amount of time. Aside from that, my comments are deciding not to load for a hot second. I don't know if you have the comments in front of you.
I do, yeah.
So what else are people saying to us this morning?
A couple people think 12 is a good age for kids to transition. Caleb says that 14 is the best age to travel to or change to travel teams.
Oh, interesting. Okay. 14.
Yeah, and then they just have reasons why, saying that they officiate or they have kids, and that's why they feel that those are the best ages.
Interesting, yeah. Jeff also on Facebook says, well, Perry and Getzlav are veterans. I don't believe they can match Nashville's youth and blue line. That is a good point as well, too. Mm-hmm. So I want to dive into this this whole business that we've got going on. Yeah, my computer's just locking completely up. So
that's okay.
I don't remember exactly where we're supposed to go from here. I forget what we wanted to talk about, but let's talk about this whole youth and sports business because it is one of our 2 questions of the day. If you haven't responded yet, we'd love to hear from you. Please bring it for us today. We'd love to see what you guys think about our questions of the day. If you are watching us on Facebook, of course, you can comment there. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a way to comment there as well, too. Even if you're listening on Spreaker, technically there's a way to go about it that way as well. So I'm looking at our 2 questions today. We ask, what age should kids transition from rec to travel sports? And we have a couple people voting, as we mentioned in the comments. One said 12, one said 14. People have been kind of going back and forth on this. So what say you about this? Because you found an article from Bleacher Report about a young MMA fighter that has kind of spiraled and kind of fired some people up about the age to be a part of things like this.
Yeah, so a young girl from Japan, I believe she is.
Yep.
She's 12 years old, and she made her debut into the MMA. And the issue is that in Japan, everybody's all for it, all gung-ho, yay! But everywhere else is like, what are you doing? She is a child.
See, 12 years old seems a bit early to me for this sport.
And if you see the picture of her, she looks like she's about 7.
Yes.
And she might be, because sometimes in foreign countries, you know how there's always the issue with like China on the Olympics, like, no, the people are actually 9.
Yeah.
I know sometimes in their culture they just look younger.
They do. I mean, they have very youthful faces and bodies. That makes total sense to me.
But she does look extremely young. And what is 12 years old? 6th grade?
Yeah. I mean, my brother's 13, and he's going into 8th grade next year, so he's in 7th. So, yeah, I guess so. About
6th, 7th grade? Because you're about 14 when you go into high school, right?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
I was 15, but yeah, everybody's... I mean, it depends on when you're born, I guess, in the year, but
so
still.
she's a middle schooler, and she's professional. And she's not going into... like gymnastics or soccer.
Right.
She's like boxing and fighting, and it's a little different. Like, what if she were to suffer a concussion at 12 years old?
Do you think that, that's the thing, I feel like, do you think that there is a lack of parental caring in this sense? That they found out that she was a good fighter and like, we could make some money off of our 12-year-old daughter?
It's just for money.
It has to be. Why else would you put a 12-year-old against a 24-year-old?
Well, and she should be in school. She shouldn't, because she's training all day in the ring.
Of course. Oh yeah, she's not. She's done with school. At this point, she's realized like, I went to school until I was 11. So you got what? 6 years, 5 years? How much do you really know at 5th grade or 6th grade?
She probably just learned like long division.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, my wife was a teacher for a couple of years too, and yeah, there was some smart kids that she would deal with, but that's because that's all they were focused on was school. I guarantee you, she did the minimum to do what she had to do at school, and then was then out in the real world.
Well, it's different when you're younger. Sometimes when you get to high school, those kids even out. You know, people that were in advanced math are just in normal math now and stuff. So you can't just go off of that.
No, exactly. And this is just a very intriguing thing, honestly, because like I said, she made her MMA debut. People were saying that they thought this was fake. She was able to go out, and she won her first fight as well too. As a 12-year-old, she did. She beat the 24-year-old that she had to fight against, which says pretty bad things about the 24-year-old. Yeah. But at the same time, if you're that 24-year-old, if I walked into a ring as a fighter, and all of a sudden I found out I was fighting a 12-year-old, I would probably be a little skeptical, or probably not try to fight as hard because I don't want to hit a kid. Like, I want to be known as the kid beater. Like, that would be really weird. Right. And then the kid comes out and just pummels you, and you're like, oh, well, interesting. So,
here, fun fact. It says she's been training 3 hours a day, 6 days a week since kindergarten. She's already had over 100 matches at that point? In Brazilian jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, and karate.
How do you know in kindergarten that you are going to do this?
Right, like maybe it's an interest and you put them in karate classes once a week for an hour and then
it's like, and you see that all the time. Yeah, you see little kids all the time just like, I'm going to go play karate and do all that fun business. Like, that makes total sense to me. It seems this whole situation though seems like a cash grab for mom and dad or for whoever is in charge of this gal. I feel like you can't putting it there. That's why there are age limits on certain things. I understand when you have a lot of exceptional talent in certain sports, but when it comes to fighting, there needs to be an age limit on that. You should not be fighting a 24-year-old or a 20-year-old if you are 12.
Yes.
You should be fighting 12-year-olds or 13 or even be surprised and play 14-year-olds.
Right.
That's where that comes into perspective. But
and to make it a little worse.
Of course, because there's always something.
She's 95 pounds, 4 feet 11.
And she's 12. That's interesting.
I'm 5'2".
I was about to say, you're not much taller.
No. But I'm pretty sure 4'11" is the max. Oh, maybe it's 4'9". That's the league, like the max for
legal
like a legal
or
midget,
whatever.
right?
Yeah. But I mean, she's 12 years old.
Right,
though,
she's still gonna grow.
So you say, in theory,
Yeah.
she's got room to grow. She'll
Oh,
probably
yeah.
be close to your height, if maybe a smidge taller when she's all said and done, because she still has a couple more
But
years to go.
also, Japanese culture, people are a little shorter.
Right, exactly, which is why I'm not really surprised in that regards about it. So this whole situation just seems ridiculous. I would never allow my children
Oh my
to
gosh.
probably not even be in fighting sports as a whole, but let alone fight somebody that
Right.
literally could be their parent if they wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
If you were 12, I mean, anyway.
pushing it, but yeah.
Right, exactly. Like, I'm not going to have my 12-year-old go and fight a college student or a
No.
college graduate. That makes zero sense to me. Seems dangerous, and it seems unruly, and it seems foolish as a whole. So, not about that.
I just keep thinking she's going to get one knock in the head.
Yeah,
and
she's done. Her whole career, her whole life.
She just messed up her whole life.
Yes, I completely
There's
agree.
more to I love sports.
I do
but
too.
there is more to life than sports.
Preach it. It's true, though. That is the absolute truth, and that's actually a great segue, too, into our other
Yes.
tail end of this, because we're getting into summer, which usually leads to volleyball leagues, softball leagues, kickball, whatever. I'm playing in a men's soccer league in a couple of weeks, so I'm super
fun.
excited about that.
Yeah.
But it stems into adult recreation sports and the conversation that people have with that and how people view it. And I feel like there's the stereotypical couple of people. You've got the one guy that really loves sports, that just wants to stay fit.
Right.
And he comes and plays, and he's decent.
He's passionate, doesn't want to let it go.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I played whatever. I played football in high school and college. Like, oh, men's flag football league sounds like fun. I just
Yeah.
want to go throw the ball around, hang out with some of my friends. You've got the guy that's got the chip on his shoulder that maybe blew out his knee freshman year of college out of a scholarship and never could play again, and now he's got the chance. So he's got to come out and prove to the world that he was worth that D1 scholarship to Alabama. Roll Tide. Like, he's gotta show the world. And then you've got those people that show up that just want to drink and don't care at all, but
Yep.
still decided to pay money to show up and be there. Like,
They don't care to win the game. They're just winning the pitcher race.
right, exactly. They're like, I don't really care. What did we win? Well,
Yes.
whatever. But those are the guys that then get yelled at the most by the meatheads. They're like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Like, make the play. You're like, what?
What play?
It's here for the drink. But it seems like it gets harsher every year, I feel like.
Yeah.
I know people, like one of our producers plays in a softball league. I know other people that play in softball leagues. And you just hear people, I feel like softball especially, men's softball, I never thought that would be the hard-hitting, boneheaded thing to do. Like, I've played men's rec soccer, and I can get into that later if I need
Yeah.
to. But it seems like people just get so invested in rec sports.
Yes.
Not pro, not college, rec sports, where it literally means nothing. Like, when we
Right.
say nothing, it means literally
nothing.
nothing. You get maybe a free pitcher of beer after the game, and if that's what your career is aspiring to, then good for you,
Yeah.
I guess. But why in the wide world? And you don't obviously want people on your team that don't care, because you want
Right.
to win, of course. Why play if you don't want to win? But the people that take it to the max, that are drawing up plays, 3 days in advance, that are going to other games and recording them, that are like
Yes.
scouting and trying to make sure the other team shows up late, like stupid stuff like that. It's like out of a movie, which actually does happen. Seems a bit excessive to me.
Yeah.
Have you been a part of stuff
mean-
like this before? Or have you? I mean, I know you're still in college, so I don't know
Yeah.
how much you. Or even like, do you play intramurals at all at school?
No, we don't even have intramurals.
What?
Yeah, we're too small of
Whoa.
a school.
That's crazy.
But okay, so my boyfriend plays in a softball league, and a couple of his friends play almost every night of the week in the
Wow.
summer. And there are people who play these men's softball teams, and they end up being so good that companies, like, they literally get paid
Yeah.
to play rec softball.
Well, yeah. I mean, you'll find the sponsors that'll show up as well too.
Like all inclusive trips to Las Vegas for
What?
tournaments and thousands of dollars a weekend. I'm serious. It's ridiculous.
How does that even? Is that? I'm assuming it must be legal.
I mean,
but
it
still seems strange. Though.
It's still a sponsor type of thing.
Sure.
But it's not
But there's
like
extra things
it's not
that
like,
go
hey,
into
come
it.
to our restaurant after and wear your jersey and we'll give you a pitcher.
Really?
Yes. There is so much money in men's softball.
Why? Is it?
I don't
do
know.
people actually enjoy that? That
Yeah,
seems a bit
there's
strange.
if you look, there's leagues in like every single town of Wisconsin.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's the church leagues, there's the bar leagues,
Yes.
there's the whatever knitting club leagues. Like, people anywhere love to
Yeah.
play in these rec.
Yeah.
I've never played softball. I've played like for fun with friends and stuff, but I've never been like on a league in that regard.
Yeah.
I feel like people even get more hyped up for volleyball as well too, like
Yeah.
co-ed. I think
that gets intense.
I think as soon as you get into the co-ed side of like the co-ed like sand volleyball, that's where it really starts to people start to get hot and heavy. I feel like
it's really intense.
because I played co-ed rec soccer for a couple of seasons, and it was fun, but the people would get vicious, and we had girls on our team that would just get checked for no good reason by guys, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like,
right.
And I get intense when I play soccer a little bit too, but there at no business in my life did I ever think that hitting a woman in a rec soccer league in Brookfield, Wisconsin, made me feel like I was on top of the world. Never once got that thought through my head, like, aha, I am now in charge. I am the best player on the field because I took down Susie over there and got the ball back. Like,
right.
It's one thing to play the game and like be a little physical, but like to full on like drop a shoulder and like, flip somebody, like that is where you need to cut yourself off when you get to that point.
Yeah, I agree. But those are the same parents who are letting their kids play travel leagues at 7 years old.
I agree. I completely agree. Patrick says, McKenzie, do you play any summer volleyball or any rec sports at all since you are a volleyball player?
Yeah, I just wrote back to him. I said I can play with friends for fun, but I'm not allowed to play in anything competitive since I'm on scholarship. If I got hurt or something, I would just put myself in a gutter. And if I were to get caught like playing in a league, and then even if I don't personally take the money, but the team gets a cash prize or like a gift card or something, I could be.
Notice how she dropped that, like, well, I'm on scholarship, so like I can't like do that.
Well,
like,
no, but if you're not, then it doesn't matter.
I know. I'm just kidding, but she was so like, whatever about it. Just like, being on scholarship, it makes me kind of a good player, pretty decent. It's what I do, so. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. We should find McKenzie Loren highlight tapes. We should bring those in. I've showed videos of me kicking footballs before, and people, have mixed reviews about that. So I'd be interested. I mean, because I do weird stuff when I kick footballs nowadays. I made a 40-yard field goal with a ballroom dancing shoe on the other day just for fun. Because I ballroom danced for a couple of years.
Right.
Fun fact. So I made a video a couple of months ago trying different shoes on and kicking field goals from like 30 and 40 yards. And my one that I showed the other day was I had a 40-yard field goal with a ballroom dance shoe on. I kicked it and I made it. I was like, woo! Which is fun. I don't know.
Wait, so you just decided, I think I'm going to take these shoes and then
Correct.
go to the football field,
Correct.
and then I'll see if I can make it, and then I'll try once, and then I'll leave.
Well, I mean, I took a couple of different, like I brought a dress shoe, a ballroom dance shoe, a tennis shoe, an indoor soccer shoe, a cleat, yeah. What?
Is that what you do for fun?
Well, when I didn't have a child.
Don't you have a child?
When I didn't have a child, I filmed it, I think, either right when he was
this
first.
was before.
Like right when he was first born or right before he was born, kind of a thing. Yeah. I'm not like running around like woo, parents.
See you later, honey. Got to take my ballroom shoes
Yeah,
to the field.
No, that's not exactly what it is. Yeah, Tiffany says you're a badass. I really doubt that you mean that, Tiffany, but thank you. Yes, running around kicking field goals, which is already sissy enough because you're a kicker, and you put a ballroom dance shoe on as well, too, and you are just prime sissy at that point. So it was a fun video. Get over me, all right? What do you want? I made the field goal. You put a ballroom dance shoe on, and you kick a field goal. Tell me how well you do. There's a science to it, okay? Bunch of haters. Lord have mercy. People answering the question as well, too, that we asked about the age limit from that. People said, Josh said 12. A 12-year-old fighter fighting a 24-year-old just seems absolutely crazy. Patrick also said that he agreed with Josh in that regards, and he said 12 is a good age to start the transition into more of the travel, sort of competitive. He says he officiates several sports, and he says he finds it crazy that kids are playing on competitive travel teams at ages 8 through 11. He said, along with a couple points Josh made, you see too many kids get burnt out at an early age.
True.
While some may disagree with this, I personally believe the age of kids being specialized in sports is not good for them. Yes,
I'm all about not specializing in sports. I grew up in a family to this day, so I only played 2 sports in high school, but my brother's a 3-sport athlete, state champion in multiple of them, and like my dad is like, even if you don't like that third sport, you will play that third sport because that third sport is going to make you better at your main sport.
Oh, interesting. So you do support that, or you don't support that, playing sports outside of what you play? I mean, I grew up playing football and soccer just because in Florida I could get away with that because football was a fall sport, soccer was a winter sport, so I just transitioned, and then I just kept playing soccer to fill in the rest of the time as well. it makes sense. I got asked to play or to run track, I guess, in the spring, and I opted not to because I wanted to keep focusing on soccer. But it is like, and I had this conversation with my mom recently too, because my brother is 13 and he's been playing soccer the last couple of years, and I've seen him start to kind of pull away from wanting to play soccer.
Okay.
And I told her, I said, you need to have a conversation with him and see if he wants to keep playing or not, because 13, that's where, for me, that's when it kind of clicked for me, is when I was like, okay, I want to play soccer in high school and college and pro, at that point in my life. I'm like, that's when I wanted to do it, was 13, 14. And I'm like, he's at that age where he basically understands the world-ish, as much as you can at 13.
He's supposed to be in high school.
Right, exactly. I'm like, you need to give him the option. Because if he doesn't want to play soccer going forward, he is wasting his time. He's wasting your money. He's wasting people on the teams that he'll be a part of. If he doesn't want to be there, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Don't put him through that. And she agreed with me too. So I mean, she's gonna, obviously they'll figure that out come this upcoming season. I'm like, take off a season and then see if it's still there or not.
Right.
Maybe he just has come so blasé about it because you play soccer in the spring and the fall in Florida, and maybe he's just, because he plays it so much, he just has kind of become blasé to it. Like, whatever. I got another season coming up. Like, take a season off. See if that reinvigorates the fire or not.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. But I would say 13, 14. That's probably when I'll have the conversation with my kids if they are playing sports, if that's what they choose to do. And that's always the one question I get asked. My family and friends are always like, "So you're gonna make your sons play? You're gonna make Beckham play soccer?" I was like, "He doesn't have to."
No.
He's like, "Well, his name's Beckham.
Maybe he's
gonna
be really good at saxophone."
Right? Maybe. I was like, his mom danced. I danced. Maybe he'll be a dancer. Maybe he'll want to be, as you mentioned, a musician. Our family is very musical as well too. Or maybe he'll want to get into the arts.
Maybe he'll want to do both. I mean,
right? Maybe he'll just be that kid and be good at everything.
Yeah.
It's like you don't necessarily know. But I'm going to give him the opportunities to play the sports, but I'm not going to force him where I'm saying, I played soccer, you must play soccer. Like, that's not me. I've never been that person, and I don't want to be that parent, because my parents didn't do that to me, because my parents were never huge when it came to sports, like growing up. Like they followed, but they weren't like sports people. So my passion for sports came from personally developing it.
yeah.
So that's kind of how I want to leave it in that regard. See, my parents said, look, if you want to keep playing sports, great. But if you don't, great.
Right.
Move along. So I'm going to kind of apply that same philosophy, even though I've played sports and work in sports, and say, listen, if you want to play, phenomenal. Here's what we'll set you up. We'll get you going. But I'm not going to force you to do it. I want them to do something active with their life.
Yeah, you need to be involved in something and
Right.
be around friends and be social and
True.
be involved.
That is true. Jeff wants to know what position you play. Guessing she's not a hitter. She's an outside hitter, obviously.
I'm a middle. No, I'm a libero.
She's a blocker. Like, I can see her at the net being like,
I think if I fully jump, because I don't really have a vertical.
you
so
don't.
I'm
Stereotype
no,
of
it
play
goes
as a
along
volleyball
with the
player.
fact that I cannot sprint. So
Do you need to sprint in volleyball?
No, but I'm just saying I'm not fast.
Oh, gotcha.
So, like, I ran a half marathon a month and a half ago, and I was totally fine. But if you had to get me to do suicides, I would be the last one every time. So I don't
Hated
have a
running
vertical.
suicides.
So when I jump, I'm like maybe this
Like,
far over. Not in the air very long.
No, I mean, but that's why you play libero though, because you
Yes.
got to get the digs. You're like you got to be close to the ground. You're like, gotcha,
Yes.
gotcha. No. Was you ever like, do you make plays as a libero, then you get up and you're like, yeah, that was pretty sick. You're just like, like I got this.
The best one is if you just like slide forward, like if the ball is about 6 feet in front of you and you're like, there's no way I can get this, but you just fly yourself forward and it just happens to hit a couple fingernails and pops up in the air. It's like, yeah.
Scholarship. Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm good at doing
No, I
that
know.
play, but it's cool
but
when people
is.
do it.
When it works. I mean, there's been numerous times where I've made goals and I'm just like, people are like, wow. And I'm like, and in my mind, I'm like, how did that go in?
Yeah.
I'm like,
wow, was I lucky?
I know. I was like, thank you.
Act like you've been there before.
Right, exactly. Like probably the best goal I ever scored in my entire high school career. I still, to this day, have no idea how it went in, but it went in, and people were, for a couple of days, were like, that was such a great goal. I'm like,
Yeah.
seriously don't know how it happened. It just did. So who knows? Tiffany actually says it was a compliment. She wasn't trying to insult me. See, I never know with Tiffany because she's kind of passively aggressively complimentary. Because her and I are friends, so we feed off of each other's sarcasm as well too. So that's probably why, like, her complimenting me is why I was kind of like, girl, like, you actually mean that? Or are you coming at me kind of weird? So,
Yeah.
But apparently she's trying to be nice about that. I like Josh's comment that he says, too. He says, Baxter, hey, Liz, where are your red pumps? I want to go kick field goals. It's probably the comment of the day, honestly. I can't fit into her shoes, for the record, okay? She's a smaller shoe than I am, okay? Not that I've tried, but I'm just saying in general, it wouldn't work. If she had bigger feet, then maybe I would. I think that would be a funny viral video, kicking field goals in high heels.
Maybe it could be the new intro
the
to
new Brew
Sports.
Just me kicking field goals in numerous shoes.
Yeah.
Like, here's me in a rain boot. Here's me in a pump.
It would just be the same angle of your foot hitting the ball, but it would just flip through a bunch of shoes.
Perfect. And then it would stop in like Brew Sports.
Yes.
I like it. Let's go shoot it. All right. We're going to gotta go take care of that now. All right, well, we've completely ignored the other question of the day. I feel like we should probably talk about it.
Okay, let's do it.
If we want to. For those of you that, I just found out about this this morning, because this took place, it must have been yesterday.
Yeah.
A group of Notre Dame graduates walked out of their own graduation, hadn't even received their diplomas yet. They pieced out because Vice President Mike Pence was the commencement speaker. And people have been kind of enraged about this, and people have had mixed reviews, and some were saying, oh, these kids are political, and yada, yada, yada. We're not trying to be political. We're just generally asking, how do you feel about it? Do you support these kids walking out? Because it's their graduation. I understand political views aside. Like, I've gone on record numerous times and say, listen, I didn't like half the things President Obama did, but I liked him as a person.
Yes.
So if I went to an event, I would probably not listen to the political things he'd have to say, but I would go just for the pure entertainment or the pure whatever that is him, because he's a very good speaker.
Yes.
You know, and I would go and I would listen, but I wouldn't let it sway my views and be like, no, I am so left-winged or right-winged or whatever bird you are that you have wings. I wouldn't go in with that. But some people I feel like are so focused on like, I am a Republican, I am a Green Party, I am whatever, like to hell with this person. I will never be in the same room as them.
Yeah.
That seems a bit excessive to me.
Yeah.
Especially at your own graduation. Who works 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, depending on what degree you had, to go to graduation, to find out, oh, there's somebody that is here that I don't agree with, to then walk out.
Right.
Really? You can't survive?
I agree with you. I also agree with Jeff. He commented, says, I don't support the walkout. First, let me say I am really not a political person.
I'm not either.
I don't identify one way or the other. The family I grew up in does not identify one way or the other. We try to go what's best at that time for everybody as a whole, whatever, however you want to say that. So it has nothing to do with the way I look at things. I think it makes you look bad. Like,
it does.
don't you like your university enough to sit there and be proud that you went there for your 4 or 5 years, go up on that stage, throw your tassel around and get your diploma and call it a day? How many times have people sat in a speech and not agreed with what the person in the class said, not agreed with with what the teacher in the class said, but you sit there because it's a respectful thing to do, and then you leave there, and then you never have to talk about it again if you don't want.
I mean, there's been numerous times I've been in classes or work functions or other things. Like, if I don't agree with you, I will still, you're still morally obligated to sit through what you're going through. You don't pay money, you don't pay hundreds of thousands of dollars or however much money it costs to go to 4 years worth of Notre Dame to then walk out. I'm assuming they figured it out and they came back, and I mean, this was pre-planned as well too. So this wasn't like one person standing up saying "screw you" and walked out, and a bunch of kids are like, "Aha! What a brilliant idea!" Like, this was pre-planned.
Yes.
And it was a fair amount of people that just got up and walked out. And like I said, this is a Catholic university. Part of it was, and from what I'm reading here on CNN too, it says some of the students at the Catholic university plan to walk out of the speech as part of the protest against Pence and his policies, which they say target marginalized people on their basis of their religion, skin color, sexual orientation, according to the student activist group We Stand For. So it was more so these students at a Catholic university. I get it. I was Catholic for a long time. I'm no longer Catholic. I don't identify as Catholic anymore, just non-denominational.
I'm the same. Like I would just say, like, I'm a Christian.
Yeah, I'm a Christian now, non-denom, like whatever you got to say exactly.
Wow. Yeah.
But, I mean, I get it, and I'm always the first to make semi-jabs at the Catholics because once you were one, I feel like you are then obligated to then you can make the jokes about them and it's okay.
Yes.
But, like, Catholics are very uptight. I'm just going to go on the record to say that. They are very uptight.
They don't really
people.
form to the new way of things.
They really don't. So
But
I feel like
anyways.
this is, for those that know Catholics, this is kind of par for the course. So to see them being very set in their ways, being, like, unbelievable, you should still have respect for a speaker that still is the vice president of your country. Like it or not, if Donald Trump goes down, that's your guy. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you stand at it, you still have to have some level.
If he sinks the ship, we're all going down.
Right. Exactly. So at some point or some level, you still have to kind of get behind him.
Yeah.
So if not, move to Canada. That's what everybody else has been saying.
Yeah.
Like, I'm moving to Canada. So
Right. Okay, bye.
yeah. So I don't support the students walking out. I think it was horribly offensive. I think that this is just a bad judge in character. If you're going to protest, do it afterwards. Do it once you're an alumni. Wait, get your diploma. You could even have grabbed your diploma and then just beeline straight out of the ceremony. Like, it's not like some magical thing that if you don't turn your tassel with everybody else, you're all of a sudden not graduated.
Right.
That's not how it works. Like,
So what do you think of when you think of Notre Dame? Like, if you think of the reputation of Notre Dame, what do you think
the
of?
reputation of Notre Dame?
Yeah, and like what it takes for somebody to go there. What I'm just curious what your view of it is.
So if you would just ask me in general to describe Notre Dame, obviously football is the first thing I think of, but that conservative Catholic person, somebody that comes from a family that has a lot of money, that someone that probably is very politically minded, I guess, in the sense too, where they're like, listen, like, we obviously have our lives together, because I know people that have gone to Notre Dame or who tried to get into Notre Dame that fit that stereotype. But your family is usually very well off. Your family is usually very opinionated. You're usually more of a conservative as well too, and usually if you're Catholic, that obviously is a help as well too.
So what I was going to say is, like, in my head, it's very prestigious to go there.
It is. Oh, it's right.
So my dad knows, like, the equipment manager or something for the football team. So my family goes to game. Well, we try to go every year. It doesn't happen. But they have buildings at Notre Dame that you have to be like some VIP alumni, make a certain amount of money in your job to be able to go in there and eat food before games. Like, it's very prestigious. Like, you walk around and you feel out of place.
That seems a bit much.
I feel like, in a way, this might go along with that kind of person, but at the same time...
It's kind of par for the course.
Right, but at the same time, those people should realize how prestigious it is and what an honor it is to go to school there.
Yes.
Have a little more respect for yourselves and the university that you went to.
I agree. Looking at some of the comments, too, Josh says it's a bad form to walk out. Patrick says, today's political landscape is so nuts no matter your point of view. It really is. Like, there's no more being politically correct anymore, I feel like. And that's one of the reasons why I don't even try to get into the politics.
Yeah.
And I have friends that work in it and that are so invested in it. And I sit there and I listen to them talk about it. And I'm just like, what's the point? I mean, I get it. You need politics to run the country. I'm not a complete idiot. I understand that. But at the same time, the way things are, like, not even trying to line up, it's like,
again, there's more to life.
Right, exactly. Like football or sports.
Right.
Like, come on.
Oh, and Josh says they were told if they walked out of the ceremony, they would not be allowed to return.
And they were apparently fine with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would like to know if they got their diplomas afterwards. I'm assuming they must still have.
Well, and like, all your friends and family come to watch you,
Right.
and then
Do you think they told their families ahead of time? I would have been very curious to know about that. Like, if I was
I wonder if their families walked out with them.
Well, like, the way that they do it, though, because I think they did it, like, in the Notre Dame stadium, right?
Okay.
So they're probably down in the bowl on the field, and then the families are probably, like, scattered throughout the stands.
Right, but do you think families left, too?
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't see about that if they did. If somebody knows about that, please let us know. I would be very curious to know about that. And Tiffany, of course, is yelling at me because it wouldn't be a day if she wasn't. She says, watch it, Notre Dame is the best. And I'm not saying Notre Dame isn't the best. I have mucho respect for Notre Dame.
That's what I'm saying. It's very prestigious.
Yeah, I wanted to go to Notre Dame when I was younger. I wanted to play. One of my favorite shirts that I had until my son ruined it was a Notre Dame soccer shirt. Like, I wanted to play soccer for Notre Dame. Growing up, even those that love or hate the movie Rudy, like, that's what I was.
Cool.
Like, I want to be a part of the tradition that is Notre Dame. And
exactly.
I have a big respect for it, but I have a little less respect now for the students that are in part of it because of how they do this walking out. And I wonder if this is going to be a trend now moving forward, because you don't see a lot of politicians speaking. I mean, you get like the Will Ferrells, the Katy Perrys, the whoever. I was at a graduation over the weekend. Granted, it was a liberal arts college. They had a former pastor there as their lead speaker.
Okay.
Like, it happens. You know, like you're not going to always land
Right.
the
So,
big
like,
ones.
if somebody's there and they're not religious,
Right.
they say, "Screw you, I'm out."
Yeah, it was a
No,
it
you're
was a,
just
it was a
respectful of
former
them. You
Lutheran
sit there.
pastor. Yeah, it was a former Lutheran pastor. I'm not Lutheran.
Right.
I wasn't sitting there like walking out, being like, "All right, honey, grab your stuff." Like, I don't care. We came to watch these people. I don't believe what this guy's saying. Let's get out.
Yeah.
You don't.
I don't get it.
You're there for a specific reason. You're there to support people that you care about and love, and you go through the ceremony, and then whatever conversation needs to happen on the car ride home, and that's the thing too for parents. Like, if for parents that were probably at that, they probably had a lot of things to explain to kids. You know, probably 8 through 12 or 8
Yeah.
through 14 that are like, "Mom, why are these graduates walking out?" Or "Why did cousin Joe walk out?" Well, this is why X, Y, Z. So then it's a conversation, and it has to be dove into or dived into. I never know how to say it.
Dove into. Yeah.
Dove in.
Well, and like I told you before we started the morning brew this morning, I had a classmate walk out of high school graduation.
Yes.
And he was the valedictorian. He gave
Unbelievable.
He didn't really give a speech because they didn't let him speak, because the speech that he prepared and like auditioned with
Which is not good.
Yeah.
Oof.
But he got his name called as valedictorian, walked up there, basically said, "Screw this school." Yes. And I think he actually might have done that, and walked out, and everybody was like, but the best thing was nobody gave him a reaction. Everybody watched him walk out, and then everybody turned, and it was over with, and we continued
And he
with the
kept
graduation.
going.
Nobody gave him the time of the day, because I don't know what point he was trying to make.
Right.
But
Was he that frustrated with the school?
I don't know.
I mean,
He was probably mad he didn't get to give the speech, honestly.
probably at that point. I'm
Right.
sure he was probably sitting in his room being
He had like a 4.7
screw-
GPA or
hate
something
those
ridiculous.
kids.
But yeah, so he walked out. But I liked that. Obviously, it's a high school graduation, but there were no articles. Nobody talked about it after. Nobody really
Interesting.
nobody
I had
followed him
I had
out.
not heard that.
Nothing.
And I think that's what you need to do, because that's why, I mean, in general, like going at a brighter scope, that's why people like LeVar Ball and others continue to get so much press. And I know for those of you that watch this, you know that we give him press. But like, that's why things like this continue to grow, is because we as a society usually try to like stoke the fire more if we can, instead of just suppressing it, being like, okay, like this is
Right.
foolish, water on the fire, we're
See ya.
done.
Yeah.
Let's move on, kind of a thing.
Yep.
Patrick says, off topic, I know this story has been out there, but it's getting a little bit more recognition now. Cool story. Yes, the first female kicker. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, I believe.
I feel like I bring up my dad like 50 times a week.
That's fine.
But she's going to the school that my dad went to in Colorado, so kind of cool.
I mean, fun fact, if you haven't figured it out by now, McKenzie or McKenzie's dad knows everybody. So
Yeah. My dad literally knows everybody, but he played football and wrestled at Adams State, so
Becca Longo. And I've watched, she kind of is like, she's kind of sassy. Like, if you look at her.
You gotta be
She
if you are
is.
her.
Like, and it's funny too, because she's like blown up on social media as well
Yeah.
too. Like, if you want to talk about someone that now has a ton of pressure to succeed, she's playing D2 football.
Yes.
Nothing against D2 football, but it is Division II football.
Are they NCAA?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Because I believe when my dad went there, obviously,
Adams State should become
60
the first.
years ago, it was NAIA D1, I believe.
Yeah, they're saying
they changed? Okay.
first to play on scholarship at a Division II level or higher. So, yeah, Becca Longo. It's funny, too, because she's posting pictures on social media. It says, like, get you a girl who can do both. And it's her, like, in a football uniform. And then the side-by-side picture is her, like, in some, like, sassy dress, like, holding her hair, looking all, like, Ronda Rousey, like, out in the club. I'm like, all right. I'm sure she'll do great.
She's a badass. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, it's fine.
She's a total badass.
She is. She's a total badass. Like, good for her. Like, she looks super sweet. Like, when you just look at pictures of her, I thought she looked super manly when I first saw pictures of her, just because
Yeah.
maybe they just didn't pick the right pictures. Maybe they wanted to show her to be more butch than she actually was. But like, she's a cutie.
Yeah.
She's such a cute little gal here, and I'm sure she's gonna go out and she's gonna crush it. So good for her. But I wasn't trying to be critical either, because when I first watched videos of her kicking, I was like, her form's not that great. Like,
Oh,
she's a
get outta
decent
here.
kicker. I know. And then people were like, you're just jealous. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's great that, but I'm like, so. But you know how this is going to work, though, right? As soon as she does anything relevant, it's going to be on ESPN.
Probably.
As soon as it happens. Because that's the world we live in, of course. And that's nothing wrong with that. It's fine. It's just
Yep.
seems a bit foolish.
Yep.
But anyway,
Moving on.
welcome to media. Welcome to the world. That's just how it happens. So
Tiffany says she's a badass like you.
she is. No, Tiff, I would say that, I would say
I
that.
wonder if she'll kick in heels.
She should. I would. Now I want to go and challenge her to a kickoff, and not like a regular like kickoff, but like a kick off. Anyway, not like the start of a game or after a touchdown. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Anyway, don't read into it. I think that'd be a great segment. I would gladly walk out there and challenge her because I can still kick with the best of them. I was kicking 50-yard field goals a couple of months ago.
You should try to get an interview with her and then see if she'll.
Fly me out to Colorado. Where does she? I don't even know. Is she from Texas? Where does she currently like reside?
I don't know.
First female. I don't know where it says she's from. Adam State has found its kicker of the future, and she's female. I have no idea where she actually plays. Longo, as a kicker, reportedly converted on 30 of 32 point after attempts and connected on a 30-yard field goal as a prep senior. 30-yard field goal. Huh. How interesting. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean, but like...
I mean, no, it's...
You're not going to make it far kicking 30-yard field goals. You're just not.
How did she get noticed?
Because she... Oh, from a scholarship? Because people were taking video. You had to have. How else does anybody get noticed
But I'm saying
as a
there's
recruiter?
so many guys that can like my brother can consistently kick 40-yard field goals.
Yeah.
Almost consistently kick 50-yard field goals. And like...
Mm-hmm. Is your brother a kicker?
Yeah.
Oh.
He plays wide receiver too. But
Hey, me too.
But like, it's not like people are swimming at his door because there's a lot of people who can do that.
It's because
so how did she...
It's because she was probably branded or promoted. I think she was... I forget how she actually was... I forget the official story of how she was actually discovered, but there was something to do with it where somebody was at the right place at the right time and noticed her or something ridiculous like that. But
I wonder if she started competitive football at age 12.
Probably not. I don't think she was probably out there hitting people. She's probably found, like, and I've said this too, like, there was a gal that went to high school the exact same time that I did that started as the kicker for one of the big high schools in Naples when I went to, because she was clocked it, because she ended up playing D1 soccer because she was phenomenal at it. Like, she was clocked at kicking a soccer ball at like 70 or 80 miles an hour.
Wow.
And she could kick a football around 60 some miles an hour because she just had like a ridiculously, wasn't much taller than you, a little bit taller than you, but like just had a powerful leg and just had the technique down. But she didn't get nationally recruited for football. She was recruited to play soccer because she was a phenomenal forward or midfield or whatever she played. Like, that's what people wanted her as.
Wow.
So.
Well, her career was probably longer than this girl who's going to play football because what is this girl supposed to... She's not going to play football after college.
That's the thing. Like, she's not going to become the first female NFL kicker.
Right. So
there's too many rules and regulations, and there's too much with the guy versus girl sort of thing, I feel like. So, like, nothing against her, but, like, this girl would literally have to be able to walk out and kick 50-yard field goals consistently to even be considered for an NFL spot, even remotely considered. Mm-hmm. But if Tim Tebow can get a starting job...
did you see Patrick's comment at you about Tim Tebow?
I did. We'll probably find a way to talk about that at some point. Tim Tebow, his third home run of the year. I always find it funny, too, because this is nothing against the Columbia Fireflies or wherever he plays right now. But, like, I've reached out for interviews to talk to Tebow and other people as well, too. Like, a part of the organization, they've always been like, oh, we can't do it. And then he pops up on The Tonight Show and he pops up on ESPN. I'm like, apparently you're just so busy catering to everybody else's needs, but... It's fine.
You're not bitter about it at all.
No, I just want to have a conversation. Similar like with LeVar Ball. Like, I don't want to, like, I'm not trying to, like, make him bigger and better. I just want to have a conversation with these people. Oh, well. I admire Tim Tebow. I always have.
I was going to say, I actually like him as a person. So.
I do, too. He's a phenomenal guy. So, all right. Any closing thoughts for us at all today before we jump out? We've had a lot of great comments today, so a special thanks to everybody that has been commenting and tuning in today. If you haven't taken the moment to answer our questions, I'd love to hear from you fast before we dump out. Do you support the Notre Dame students walking out on the vice president who was giving the commencement speech at Notre Dame? And also, what age should kids transition from rec to travel teams? Just to go back and reiterate for both of us, you and I both said we do not support the students walking out. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. Yeah, no.
We thought it was absolutely wrong. And then from an age perspective, we both said 13, 14 vicinity. Is that right? Or did you have were you a little bit younger? I forget.
No, like 13 I feel like is a good age. That's when I started playing club volleyball was
around that
time. I
think
either 7th or 8th grade.
Okay.
Yeah, because you kind of have to get into the competitiveness before you enter high school. And like Patrick said, my favorite comment ever, supporting my hometown. But in Kimberly, it's a sports world. So if I didn't play club volleyball in middle school, I would have never made the freshman team.
Well, there you go. And I feel like for certain sports, like you can get away with not playing, like club,
not
before high school. But in Kimberly, like that's just how it rolls.
Yes.
You got to do it. We'll leave you with this final story before we go. We talked about it last week. $26,000 apparently is the official word. If you don't know what we're talking about, there was a Girl Scout scandal where a lady, a troop leader at 26 years old, decided that she had enough of these stupid little girls and their stupid little cookies, and she stole $26,000 worth of cookies. That comes out to about 6,000 boxes, and she ran away with them. But she's officially been caught now.
Yes. We said she probably needed a bus or large van to take all of these. 6,000 boxes? How did she get all of them in a car without somebody seeing her?
She had to have had a hookup somewhere. She had to have had somebody somewhere that she knew, or maybe she was like, guys, like, well, I'll hold on to everything. Like, we can storm at my place.
Yeah.
And we can kind of go from there.
And she pulled into a garage, shut the door, took hours to load it. And then,
yeah.
Why? What was she going to do with this story is literally just the stupidity of people in America sometimes.
It really
because
is.
I don't get it.
Josh says 26,000. Now that's big ballin'. That's true. Maybe LeVar Ball will try to help her out because, like, you got to be a big baller to steal 26 grand. Or, 26 grand worth of Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then the fact that you could end up on CNN for doing this, too. She's 26 years old. She's going to go to jail for this. The local Girl Scout officials have been trying to collect payment for the cookies since February. We started contacting her. She didn't let us know that. She did let us know that I'm sorry. It must have been a mistake. I will get those.
A mistake?
Funds back to
You accidentally load 6,000 boxes into a car by mistake?
Yeah. Then they finally said it's not clear if the troops sold the cookies and she kept the money, or she sold the cookies herself and kept the money. I don't know. I truly don't know. But all right, we got to get out of here. This has been a lot of fun. If you haven't taken the moment to respond to our comments or questions today, please do so. McKenzie and I will go back after the show if we missed anything, and we'll make sure to respond. But yeah, Jeff says she wasn't a smart cookie. You're absolutely right about that one, Jeff. You guys are the best. Tiffany, Patrick, Josh, Jeff, Greg, everybody, and everyone else that tuned in as well. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, we are here on Mondays at 7 a.m. Central Time live on Brew Sports, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Spreaker.com. And then, of course, find it all on our website, brewsportsnet.com. She is McKenzie Laurent. You can find her at MCK_Laurent.
Yes.
I am at Baxter Colburn on Twitter. Brew Sports is at BrewSportsNet on Twitter and Instagram as well. Coming up next, it is Monday, which means it's halftime with myself and Tanner Burke at 11 a.m. Central Time. Come back, enjoy the craziness. It's Trivia Monday. Someone's getting pied in the face, so you know that's going to be a good time, that's for sure. So for McKenzie Laurent, I am Baxter Colburn. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow on The Morning Brew.